The monstrous hidden horrors of the world of darkness permeate human society. Strange creatures hunt lonely alleys and prowl in high society soirees with equal ease. As a human, you never even realize what they are until it's too late. This is Vampire the Masquerade.
Finny and DG lead the way. New RPG systems every day. Dice roll, quick adventure calls. Walking through tabletops, golden halls. Masters of pen and paper. RPGs of every flavor. Talking about different creators. The choice of games is never greater. Come with us to games they run through. New, old, and interesting. Thank you all for listening.
Welcome in, Masters of Pen and Paper here, coming at you, episode 18, Vampire the Masquerade. You got your host, Finny, here with his main man,
DG, how's it going, everybody? Full disclosure, this is gonna be a long one. This is easily the biggest one that we've done so far, right? Like this, we've done some big ones, but this one,
big, yeah.
When I say big, what I mean is
difficult.
There's a lot. There's a lot
here
going on in this game.
There's a lot we're going to gloss over because
yeah.
If we were to go over every single rule in this, it would be like 4 or 5 episodes long, and we wouldn't even cover it then.
You could almost make a podcast just on this. Truthfully, there's so much lore. There's a lot of, and I gotta hand it to him, right? Like there is a lot of background. There's a lot of story. There is a ridiculous amount of lore in this game, and it makes sense. But we'll get into that.
It's got a long history. So originally created by a man named Mark Reinhagen.
Love it.
In 1991, published by White Wolf Publishing, who was later bought out by Paradox Interactive AB. They are a company out of Sweden,
something like that. Yeah,
They do
a lot of stuff. Paradox does games as a whole. They do video games,
tabletop games,
They
video games.
They do a lot of stuff.
All sorts of things.
And I was actually really interested in seeing that this was 1991. I thought it was older than 1991. I thought this game went back into like the 70s, the 80s, but the early 90s is really interesting to see that's the dawn of this product.
And it shows. Because hear me out. Because mid 90s, what do we have? We have all of these vampire movies coming.
That's
out.
true.
We got Queen of the Damned. We got Blade. We got Underworld was coming out.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
eventually.
Exactly.
I know. I get you. Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of that in the 70s, 80s kind of thing that I know of, but of course,
wasn't like Twilight vampires. We're talking real vampires.
We're talking leather clad, go out at night, slicked back hair with
Lost Boys.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Kiefer Sutherland. 100%. Yeah.
Anyways, back to the origin. They have the World of Darkness series. Paradox does. They take possession of it with their buying out of White Wolf Publishing. Now, World of Darkness is a setting more so than a line of games. And we'll get into that after.
There's a little bit.
We're specifically talking about the 5th edition of Vampire the Masquerade, which was developed by Kenneth Haidt, Karim Muammar, along with Martin Erickson, who is the lead creative story designer. The revised 5th edition was published in July of 2021 and went into print about then.
Yeah. So relatively new. Like this edition has been out for a couple years now at this point, right? But
it's a COVID game.
It's a COVID game. People are like, you know what needs to come back? Vampires.
Yeah.
the entire process, the premises behind the game, the premises behind the creation of the game was that they wanted to flip the script on tabletop RPGs. So at the time, you've got Dungeons and Dragons, you've got kind of all of the games. We've been talking about them over the last few episodes, right? And in the vast majority, if not all of these games, you are the protagonist. You are the person who is the hero. You're here to save the day. And in this game, you're the bad guys. You're the not the bad guys, right? It depends on what side you're looking at it from, but
which way you're looking.
You're playing as the monsters, right? And that's what they wanted to do with World of Darkness, is they wanted you, the player, to be in the driver's seat of the monster.
Yeah, of the dark, mysterious part of that world.
Because like you said, World of Darkness spans a few games, right? Like this isn't Vampire the Masquerade is a portion of this. There's other games in this chunk.
Yeah. So, speaking specifically tabletop RPG games, which is what this podcast is about, we have Vampire the Masquerade, we have Werewolf the Apocalypse, and we have Hunter the Reckoning. So you got
currently
all three
currently because there's games that have come up and gone away. But that's what's out there today.
There's all sorts of stuff everywhere for this. Right now, as of recording this episode, there are 3 main games for the tabletop games. And so you basically have, your vampires versus werewolves, and then your vampire werewolf hunters. You got this love triangle going between these 3 games, which is very cool.
Very cool.
And of course, they're all set in the same setting. So you can switch back and forth between games.
Yeah, they rotate very easily, as you kind of go through. If you want like a legit Blade character, you want to be a vampire hunter, you could have started out as a vampire in Vampire Masquerade and then rotated out into Hunter the Reckoning as you're now the hunter. Yeah. Very cool. I love the concept.
There's not too many games that you can just transition to another, slide sideways into another game and make it work. Yeah.
There's a couple that come to mind, like Pathfinder and Starfinder would be the first one that would immediately come to mind. But even then, it's not easy, right? Like it's
not one-to-one.
It's kind of in there, but it's not like you can just be like, okay, today we're picking up in Starfinder. In this case here, you can do that. And that's cool. I really like that idea.
Because the mechanics are roughly the same. Everything seems to be the same.
It's same story told from a different perspective.
Now, that being said, the World of Darkness does encompass a large amount of other things, such as board games, video games, other media like books, comic books, all sorts of stuff. Today, we're just talking about tabletop RPGs because otherwise we wouldn't be the masters of pen and paper.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Pen and paper games, that's what we're talking about.
We would be the masters of geeky everything.
Of all things.
That's
we have
way
to
too
draw.
much work.
We have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, we can't be the masters of all. So the setting in World of Darkness, it's extensive.
There's a lot.
Huge.
There's so much going on in this book.
It goes back so far. Like
the creation of time.
It goes back. Yeah. So
literally Adam and Eve levels of like creation of time. Yeah.
And this was really cool that it would the way the lore works is that Cain and Abel, of course, if you haven't heard of Cain and Abel, they're 2 brothers. Cain gets mad at Abel and kills him. Yep. And Cain is
a jerk.
God's good grace.
Yeah. Cain done bad.
Yeah, so Cain done bad. Now, Cain's kids, he has 3 kids. His kids have a total of 13 kids of their own after that.
So Cain's grandkids.
Yep. Are there. He has 13 grandkids. And God says, your grandpa was a bad boy. Yeah. So I'm gonna be cursing.
Somebody has to pay for this, and it's unfortunately you guys.
And it's not grandpa because he's up here with me, so it's got to be you. So he curses them. And this is where the 13 clans come from in Vampire.
Yeah, the
so he
vampire
curses them
clans.
with vampirism, and they become the clans. And this is important later on, I promise you. This is something that is not just, story and old wives' tales and just DG and Finny going off on an old man tangent here. I mean, it kind of is. But
It's always a little bit like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, 13 clans, these clans, they fight each other and they rule over, quote unquote, rule over the humans for like a millennia. Right? Like this goes all the way from the dawn of time forward, right?
Yeah.
And then above all, the number one rule, the most important rule is that they have this law that essentially says, hide thyself from mortals. So you rule over the mortals, but they don't know you exist. That's the way this works.
They cannot know you are a vampire.
And this is the code known as... Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
The Masquerade.
Yeah.
So there it is. Like there's the namesake of the game.
There we go.
That's why it's called the Masquerade. So the concept is that the vampires have existed forever and they essentially call the shots and pull the strings because they've existed forever. And they need to put on a show almost so that humans don't know they exist.
That's right.
But we'll get into it. There's some strife being created within the clans, and some of them are like, you know what? This whole sneaking around thing, not a big fan of that. So how about we rule them out in the open because we're way stronger than all these stupid mortals are. We'll just take over.
I saw that once in a movie somewhere.
Isn't that interesting? There's a lot. So yeah. And we got to be careful because there's loads. Like as anyone who is a fan of Vampire the Masquerade and has followed through, there is like drama and drama and drama and drama and drama for like stuff that's happened in its past. We are new to the series, so we're not going to address any of the stuff that's come before this. And please don't get mad at us for not acknowledging it, but it is what it is. This is where we're coming in at 5th edition.
Yeah. If you are a tried and true Bleeding Heart Vampire the Masquerade player,
Bleeding Heart,
be gentle.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. I mean, let us
know in the comments.
Let us know in the comments what we might have glossed
we'll
over,
probably
or
screw some stuff up.
Help us kind of backfill. There's so much information. I cannot emphasize this enough. There's so much information in this game that it is literally impossible for us to stuff it all into a single thing. So
yeah. So
back to the creation of the game.
Back to the creation of the game. Our beloved creators here.
Yep.
We have Kenneth, who he's been designing games since the early 80s.
Yep.
So essentially when D&D dropped, he was there and he was like, heck yeah, I know what I'm doing from now on.
Yep.
So then he finally made it his full-time job starting in 1995. Now, this dude has a huge list of credits that I don't have time for.
Can't list them all.
Because it's like 6 pages long of credits to this guy. Yeah. Some of his big ones are he worked on Star Trek, the RPGs, Trail of Cthulhu, and he's also contributed to Gumshoe System, which I have a feeling that we're probably going to hit that sometime later down the road.
Definitely.
Because that sounds like a really fun system.
I love
it's like
it.
An investigator,
policeman
kind of thing. Yeah.
Private
Very
Eye.
Cool. Yeah. Next up, we have Kareem Muhammar.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and I am sorry if that is not how his name's pronounced, but I am me and I am Canadian and I can't help it.
I think you did pretty good.
English is my only language, and it is a terrible language. For me to have.
I do my best. I can barely speak as it is. No, I think you did good, right? And Kareem is the brand editor, I think you said?
Yes. So he is the brand editor, quote unquote.
Right.
This is all I could find on this guy. Literally the
That's
only
literally,
thing I
he's
could
got
find.
one page that says, Kareem is the brand editor.
Yes.
Next.
Exactly. So from what I get is that he was part of the White Wolf publishing team, and he had kind of taken the reins of World of Darkness setting and said, this is kind of how this all works. Mm-hmm. And all these things have to work in this game, and I got to make sure that these things work. Now, when Paradox Interactive bought out White Wolf Publishing, they said, hey, you've been doing a good job doing that. Why don't you just keep doing that?
But we'll pay you instead of them.
And yeah, your job does not change, just who's paying you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And he says, yeah, why not? That's cool. So that is how he fits into all of this. Now, he is also credited with creating and designing the 5th edition of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yep. So he's like a key role in it.
Sorry. Kenneth and Kareem are both credited as design and creators.
Got it.
Martin Erickson.
Martin is a unique individual.
He is something else. He is the head kind of creative director behind the way that Vampire the Masquerade story works. Mm-hmm. So he is the lore man. He is also, and I say this lovingly,
self-described.
he is a LARPer and self-described. He has been tagged as an edgelord.
Okay.
By the internet, because he has reaped the ire of the internet for some god-awful reason.
Makes sense. I mean, when you're in charge of lore of a 5th edition of a TTRPG, you're probably going to make some decisions that not everybody agrees with.
And you're going to make somebody upset.
You're going to make somebody upset, and someone's going to post about that on the internet, and that's just how it is.
In the world of the internet, if you make anyone upset, you make 30 million people upset. That's correct, yeah. And they have to voice their opinion because they feel it's their right.
Exactly. But I mean, the long and short of it is this is your primary guy who is in charge of the story. Like, this is the guy who's writing the lore and the background and creating all the decisions that happened before you pick your dice up, kind of thing.
One interesting tidbit is that he posed, and his picture is the picture for Dracula in one of the editions. I think it's 3rd or 4th edition.
Okay.
He is Dracula. So if you go find a picture of Dracula from Vampire the Masquerade 4th edition or something, that's
him.
Martin Erickson. And he still dresses like that.
The dude's all in on vampires, and
we're talking long leather trench coat, long black hair, the beard, everything.
If you're going to be the guy in charge of the lore for a vampire game,
you gotta
walk the walk, man. And hey, I get it, and I appreciate it, and I see it in the lore. The first 116 pages of the book are all lore.
So, I will say that is the absolute tippy top of the iceberg for these 4 people that designed this game.
And we're not even talking about previous people involved with the game. This is 5th edition.
We could do an entire episode on these 4 people and how they interact and how Vampire the Masquerade came around. We could do an entire episode on that, and I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that I don't want to. I don't have the time. We have so many other systems to do.
Yeah, there's a lot there. But I think it's time. So that's the creation of the game and the people involved with it. I think it's time now that we kind of crack the book and take a peek under the hood, so to speak. Because this game, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, but this game is 431 pages for the core rulebook. And I gotta say, man, this one took a lot out of me to get from cover to cover. And I hate, we're dads. I hate to make that joke, but there's a lot to sink your teeth into here.
Oh, ouch. Wow.
But I mean, there's like, this book is hefty. It might not seem much at 431 pages, but as you get through, there's pages in the center of it that are triple column walls of text, like small text. There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff in this book.
There is. And I don't know what's a rule and
No,
what's
it's
not
it's
half
tough.
the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the book is really, really artistically designed. That, like I said, I mean, that first 116 pages is all information before you even get into the rules of the game. You've got the characters, not the characters, but you've got like the clans, they call them, and all of the information and such from there. But really, the rules start on page 115 or 116 or something like that. It's a good push to get through that, but I mean, there's a lot to know, I guess. And well, if you're a lore master, this book is 100% right up your alley.
There is a lot to know to Vampire the Masquerade rules, and the rules are the story, not the rules. Are what matters in a game of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah,
and
the obligatory
golden rule.
Yeah,
the golden rule is there are no rules.
Gee, thanks, book. That's really helpful. No, the obligatory. This is your game. Do with it what you want. Is the
that's
message
all it is.
Is really front and center. And I mean, it's good to see it in a TTRPG. It is. Because it makes it crystal clear, like these are guidelines, they're not really rules. Like, you need something in order to play your game, but don't feel like because it says so in the book is a way to trump the way that your story's going.
I do want to quote the golden rule from the book, though, just for our audience to understand this. It says, the golden rule, there are no rules. This game should be whatever you want it to be. Whether that's a nearly diceless chronicle of in-character socialization or a long-running tactical campaign with each player controlling a small sortie of vampires. That is the golden rule.
That's the rule hanging above all.
Yes. So what that basically boils down to is if something's not working for you, get rid of it and play however you want.
Yeah, your fun is important.
Fun is valid because that is the motto of our show.
That's right. Your fun is valid, and you'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
As long as everyone's having fun.
That's all that matters.
Fine. Now, into the actual nuts and bolts of this system. Today we are talking about a D10 pool system.
Which is interesting.
Which is completely different from anything we've ever touched before.
Haven't gone through pool systems yet at this point,
So D10s, your 10-sided dice, two of them make a D100.
And just to jump in real quick, there is specific dice for this game that have the little logos and stuff on them. There's a black set and a red set.
You can get the fancy special edition ones.
But normal D10s work perfectly fine.
Yes. So with a pool system now, we have multiple D10s, and it's that pool size is always changing depending on what you are rolling and what skills you are rolling off of. The success, we are aiming for successes, and those successes are 6s or higher. So you have a 50-50 chance of rolling, 6 or above on a D10. That if my maths work right.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the numbers that you want to see on your dice. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The storyteller, air quotes, this is our GM. Mm-hmm. Our GM is now a storyteller because the story rules all in Vampire.
It's an interesting title for the GM because and this is something I didn't like, but I get it. The storyteller implies that they tell stories, whereas the real role of the GM here is that of referee, right? Because if the GM's telling the story, the players aren't playing the game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, so it's an interesting choice. It's nomenclature, so it really doesn't matter, but it's an interesting choice.
It is. And one thing that it gripes me hard in this game, they don't call them NPCs.
Oh, yes.
They're SPCs.
Yeah.
Storyteller played characters.
Everything's got its own little flavor in this game.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, you're going to call them NPCs. I think as you're playing the game, you're just going to call them NPCs. But you are right. That is what it says if you're following the rules. But then again,
that's right.
The rules don't exist, so
They don't matter.
it
so
can be whatever you want it to be.
It's like a game of Who's Line. So, sorry. The storyteller sets the difficulty that you need to meet or beat. Now, this can be anything from, 2, 7, 12, whatever.
And I think I had found kind of like the array or whatever you'd call it.
Yeah.
But essentially the storyteller can modify the dice pool to have more or less than what the player would typically have, but it can't be modified below 1. Alternatively, they can modify the difficulty by 1 or 2, which has the same effect as adding or subtracting up to 3 dice from a pool. Those are kind of the extremes, right? But essentially, the basic scale is from 1 success, which would be like something super easy to do, real simple, to up to 7 successes or even more than that out of your pool for something that's like a godlike feat, like something incredibly difficult. So to kind of get an idea, like 1 super easy, 7 incredibly difficult, you're probably going to see a lot of 2 successes, 3 successes, and 4 successes.
Yeah. Now, I will also say that crits are dealt with very differently in this game. Crits are considered 2 rolls of 10 on separate dies. So if you roll, say, 6 dies, and you've got 2 of them pop up as 10, and the rest of them are, let's say they all succeed, but you got those 2 10s rolled up. Perfect. Okay, so instead of 6 successes, you count those 2 10s as successes on top of being successes of their own because they critted. So basically a 10 is a double success as long as there's 2 or more.
and very stick with us because it's complicated, right? Like there's also other dice like the hunger dice that get subbed in there. There's a lot of stuff. So bear with us. This is the basics. We're kind of we'll work through as best we can from here.
Baby steps. We're doing baby steps. Little nibbles, as they say. So there is a automatic success kind of thing that happens as well. Now, if your dice pool is double what I'm going to call it DC because that's what we're talking here. If it is double what the DC is, it's an automatic success because you have a 50-50 chance, and you know what? You're rolling twice as many dice.
Exactly.
You probably get it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
they
just
say,
a way to
hey,
push the
wave it,
contests
and
forward.
It's because it's not about the rolling of the dice in this game.
This game's about the story.
It's about propelling the story forward and walking it forward. And the faster that you can get that rolling, the less time you're spending rolling and counting out dice and seeing how many succeed and how many fail.
The book specifically states there are times when it would be not good to roll the dice because you need to be in control of the story. So it's far better to count the automatic win in the best interest of the story than it is for you to roll and potentially mess it up.
Yes, because if they're very good at that skill and it's something kind of pivotal, they're probably going to succeed unless there is something obscure that happens, which why are you rolling dice then if this is going to happen anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's that old, if you don't need to, don't roll
then
it.
Then don't worry about it.
That's right.
When you do roll the dice, though, any extra successes can also count towards advantage in other contests or extra damage in combat. So it's not that if you need 2 successes and you roll 3, it's not that 1 extra success is going to waste. You can then apply that to other things. It's not just wasted. Depending on context.
Yeah.
But you can take that extra success and apply it in different ways, essentially. Let's talk about making some characters. So that's just the basic stuff.
That's just the barest of basic stuff.
Now,
like the bare bones.
Finn, if I want to make myself a vampire, how easy is it to make a vampire? It's a couple pages.
It's not.
Right? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's complicated too? Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. You got to go find a vampire, talk him into biting you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Hope to God he turns you into a vampire and just doesn't suck you dry.
Kill you instead. Yeah, the character creation process also complicated. Everything in this game is complicated. Not so complicated you can't figure it out, but it's definitely not beginner friendly.
It's complicated compared to things like Merkborg.
And that's what I mean. Some of the games that we've talked about, even honestly, even over the D&D character creation, right?
I would put this closer to the Pathfinder character creation.
I agree with you there.
Because there's a lot of choices to be made. There's a lot.
And those choices, some of those choices have massive ramifications and effects way down the line where you wouldn't even realize it right off the beginning.
They do have big bearings.
Yeah.
So, first off, we grab our character sheet. Right at the top it says, your character name. So what's your name? Easy. Bob. Done. Okay, next up, we grab a clan. Now, the clans are like our classes in Vampire.
Yeah. You as a vampire or a kindred, you belong to a family or a clan. Each of these clans also has their own stuff. So think of them like the classes. It's a real loose comparison because it's not really one-to-one like that, but it's the closest thing that you've got to like a comparison in this one.
This is where you get your special powers
you're
from.
You're going to get some vampire abilities.
You're going to get your cool abilities from your clan choosing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not to say you don't get it from further down character creation, but this is where your basic options are. Now, in the core rule book, I believe there are 9 clans to choose from.
So this is something that I had to go back and look at, right? So in the edition, in the 5th edition of this book, there are 16 generations of kindred available. However, only generations 10 to 16 are playable. And consider, like, we're talking generations, time span, Cain and Abel to now, 16 generations. Of those, the last 6 are the only ones that are currently alive, right? And
so no ancient Egyptian
not really. But I mean, hey,
got it.
The rules are you. If you wanna do that, that's all you. But I know what you're thinking. You're gonna say, DG and Finny, you told us there was 13 clans at the beginning of the show. You said
we did say
there was 13 clans, so I would expect at this point that there's 13. Actually, there's 7.
That would be a good assumption that there should be 13.
So there is 13, but
there are 13 clans in the lore.
Only 7 of them are playable. And the reason for this is the other 6 clans are currently in a state where they're either going away and dying, or they have gone into a different thing. We're gonna talk about the difference, the 2 sects that exist. There's 2, but these guys have joined a 3rd, and the ones in that 3rd sect are not playable. So don't worry. We're gonna just ignore that. Even though we said there was 13, from this point forward there is 7. Okay, that's all we care about right now.
They're not playable in the core rule.
They're not playable in the core rulebook, and that's all we're talking. We're talking core rulebooks.
Yeah, I'm just an asterisk there, a giant asterisk that this is only core rulebook we are talking about.
That's correct.
We do not have the time to go through every supplemental book on this thing.
There's too many. So of those 6 clans, they're unavailable. Some of them have joined the Shadow of the Sabbat. Some of them have been almost extinct, and then some of them are like in limbo. So basically what the game's saying is you've got 7 choices here.
Ta-da.
That's,
so of those 2 sects that are left that you can play of, you have the Camarilla and the Anarchs.
Yep.
The primary differences between those 2 is the Camarillas want to uphold the Masquerade and continue to rule from the shadows.
Remember, the primary rule
It's the prime directive.
Prime directive. We do not interact with humans. They do not know vampires exist. That is the Camarilla.
They're not supposed to.
No.
That is the only reason we are powerful over them, because they outnumber us.
Yeah, we run them, but quietly.
Yeah, it's like the movie Ants.
That's right.
With the grasshoppers.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
No.
I'd play the Ants TTRPG. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Now, under the Camarillas, we have Malkavians. We have the Nosferatu. We have the Toreador. And we have the Tremere and the Ventru.
Mm-hmm. And the Ventru were interesting because they're considered the leader castes, right? Like they are the ones in charge. They're the
face.
They have the old lineage in their clan. Right? So that's why they're like, we're the ones obviously in charge over the rest of
excuse me. Half-blood. No.
And each one of these clans has their own stuff in them. We're not going into each and every one of them.
We ain't doing that.
But just know that they exist and they have choices.
Right. Now, the Anarchs, the yin to the yang of Camarillas, they are openly want to rule over the mortals. They don't want to hide in the shadow anymore.
Yep.
And these are the Bruja and the Gangrel.
Gangrel. Yeah. These two here, the Bruja are your run-of-the-mill anarchists. They want to see the world burn.
See the world burn for burning.
The Gangrel are like outcasts, wanderers, and hunters. So they're like...
They're the hippie vampires.
That's right, yeah.
Got it.
They're vagrants.
We're just trying to have fun here, guys.
Yeah, please don't stake us.
No.
And there is always the final choice, which is if you would rather just be like, you know what? I don't like this whole clan idea. I don't want to do it. You can do that. There is a clan for you. And that would make you a caitiff. So if you don't want to join one of these other clans, you're now part of the caitiff, and it's a BYO clan type scenario there.
Yes. Now, each of these clans comes with 3 disciplines. Mm-hmm. These are your vampire powers.
Yep.
And they also have 1 bane, which is like a detriment to yourself. Yep. So certain of them, does whatever. I did not look too deeply into these.
There's a lot. So, I mean, like, if we look at the Bruja specifically, the Bruja's disciplines have one called Celerity, which essentially allows them to strike fast and get out. So a kind of a hit and run.
In and out.
Right?
Yeah.
They also have Potence, which is like this devastating weapon, right? That they have access to. They've got Presence, that they can use to like win like the crowd over kind of thing. So like a charisma almost kind of situation.
Like a charisma thing. Yeah, like a charm.
And then their Bane has, it says that the blood of the Bruja simmers with barely contained rage, exploding at the slightest provocation. Subtract dice equal to the Bane severity of the Bruja from any roll to resist Fury Frenzy, and it cannot take the pool below 1 die. So essentially what's going on is because you got this pent up anger and you're going to burst and let it out, you're now losing a die because you're not thinking straight anymore.
So they're the raging barbarians.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the concept behind it, right? And I mean, and rinse and repeat through the other clans. They all have their own disciplines and banes.
Yeah.
And there's lore specifically to the clan. It tells you like stuff about like if you're part of this crew, this is kind of what you need to know. And then it even gives you like sample images of like what your clanmates may look like.
Yeah, and that I liked that.
That was really
cool.
Those
were cool.
Yeah.
The artwork in this is very nice.
It's all designed with inspiration in mind to help you flesh out your character and get that going. So
to get that character in your mind's eye.
Exactly.
And get going
So that's
with
kind of the concept with Discipline and Bane. I like the idea that here's your bonuses and here's your drawback. So at any given time, you're never really overpowered, but it helps make for a character that you play that is different from the other characters that are at the table.
After that, after we pick our clan, that's right. That's only
we're not done yet.
2.
We're not done yet.
We do our attributes. Now, our attributes are, we have 9 skills broken into 3 different categories. Sorry, 9 attributes broken into 3 different categories, because we have a whole table of skills that rivals traveler skills. It's crazy.
It's a huge amount. There's loads of skills on that character sheet.
So for attributes, we have physical attributes, which are our strength, our dexterity, and our stamina. We have our social attributes, which are our charisma, our manipulation, and composure. And we have mental attributes, which are our intelligence, wits, and resolve. Now, each of these has 5 quote-unquote dots, because they use dots throughout this whole book. And these are basically to show what rank
How good are you at this?
There. How good are you? The more dots you have filled in, the better you are. And now these dots also pertain to how many dice that skill attribute, gives you when you roll something. So if you have a strength of 4 dots, you get to roll 4 extra die into your dice pool
when you're using the strength
and go with it. Yes.
Just to kind of get a concept of the dice pool. Like that's how you build your dice pools up. They are constantly shifting forwards and backwards.
So the storyteller will tell you, hey, you're trying to do this. It's a strength with this skill. So take your 2 sets of dots, add them together, boom, bam, there's your dice pool. So that's how that works. And it's a very slick.
It's interesting.
I like this system.
You can choose.
I like the system.
You build your own character this way. There's no dice rolling, right?
Now, the attributes are, we do an array here. So we have 1 attribute that is a rank 4.
Yep. Your primary attribute.
We have your primary attribute. We have 3 of these that are rank 3. We have 4 that are rank 2. And we have 1 that is your dump. You have one dump 1.
So each one of these attributes is going to have dots in it.
Something.
And so you're going to decide at character creation when you get to this point, what kind of character am I playing? Because you're going to want to know, am I going into strength? Am I going into charisma? Am I going to intelligence? Like what is my vampire?
What kind of vampire are you? Yeah. Are you one that, slunks through the darkness and bites backs and necks, or do you just reach out and grab the nearest man and eat him?
Exactly.
Next up, we do our skill distribution.
So if you thought the 9 attributes were hefty, so we got a lot here.
We got 3 kind of choices here, and these are generalized choices. We've got 1 that is a jack of all trades. Now, this gives you the most spread out array that you can get. You will not be very good at anything, but you will have something in about everything. So the jack of all trades, you get 1 skill at 3. Now these skills also have 5 dots next to them.
The attributes do.
Yeah. And then you have 8 skills that are at level 2, and you have 10 skills that get 1 dot next to it.
Yeah. So, and this one is very familiar. If you're familiar with 5e or other games that use the skills system, very familiar with those types of systems. The dots go in here. They're going to help you build your dice pools. You've got things like athletics. You've got things like melee. You've got things like survival. But then you've got a few things that you may not be familiar with, like larceny, which is stealing things, right?
Yep.
Etiquette, streetwise, occult, finance. So there's a few skills in there that you're going to want to go into the book and you're going to want to read a little bit about. But for the most part, you should understand when you make an athletics check, when you make a survival check, when you make an intimidation check, etc., etc., etc.
Yes. Now, the next option we have is a balanced, quote unquote, option. Now, you get 3 skills at rank 3, you get 5 skills at rank 2, and you get 7 skills at rank 1.
Right. So you get you're going to boost a few extra skills in this regard. So you're not quite the jack of all trades, but you're still pretty across the board.
That's right.
You got a lot of skills.
You're going to have some empty ones in there, but I mean, if you're a bruiser, you're not going to need finance.
Yep.
Right. Next up, we have the specialist. The specialist. So this one gets 1 skill at rank 4, which is very good. 3 skills at rank 3, which is also very good, and 3 skills at rank 2,
reasonable,
not bad, and only 3 skills at rank 1. Now that leaves a lot of empty slots in there,
zeros,
but you're going to be be pretty good at what you do.
That's right. Yeah, that's the merc.
Yeah,
the merc.
Exactly. The gun for
that's
hire.
Right.
Next up, we add free specialties to academia, craft, performance, and science skills, as well as 1 more free specialty.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, it says on page 159, where it's talking about skill specialties here, that it essentially represents a particular expertise in one aspect of a skill. So that would be a field where a character is especially practiced. So it's being proficient is what it is.
Yeah. So you're good with swords instead of just melee.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or something like that. Next up, we do our disciplines. Now, if you will remember when we covered our clans, the disciplines there was 3 disciplines under the clan rating or clan description. When we choose our disciplines, we get to choose 2 of those 3. So this is where the character customization comes in, and this is where your vampire is different from my vampire, even though we're the same clan, because it takes a village to raise a child, that kind of thing. So we put 2 dots into one and 1 dot into the other.
Yep.
Now these, of course, get 5 dots because why wouldn't they?
Everything else on the page is getting 5 dots, so it is what it is.
That's right. I will specify for the caitiff characters, the ones that are clanless, you choose any 2 disciplines and put 2 dots into one and 1 dot into the other.
Yeah.
We did forget to say, there are thin-blooded characters, quote unquote. These have no intrinsic disciplines. These are the not vampires. After this, we choose a predator type, and this is on page 175 for those of you following along in your book.
We're almost done the creation of the character. I'm laughing because there's so much. Like it is
there
just
is a
lot. It's not really obvious in the book about how you do this from step to step. There is a summary for those that are kind of following along. There's a character creation summary in the back of the book about page 430 or so that I would recommend that you take a peek at, because it will walk you through. But it does say for you to flip back and forth between them. So
yes.
Be ready for that. There's a lot of flipping in this book.
The predator type is also like a subclass kind of thing going on. You add 1 of the listed specialties. You add 1 dot to a listed discipline that is corresponding to that predator type. And you apply an associated advantage or flaw,
which you're going to need to read up on that side of the fence.
Because there's a
lot going on there. But the reality of it here is that these advantages give you the ability to boost things in the game. That's what they're there for. You take a point off, you get an advantage, and away you go. But you're going to also take flaws as part of this as well, which are the exact opposite of things.
Because there's always got to be balance.
It's got to be balance.
Finally, last step, we do our convictions and our touchstones. Now, these ones are the beliefs and the driving force behind your character.
That's right.
So these are out to make money, in it for the blood kind of thing. And that's it, finally.
That's your character.
That is your character.
And we didn't go into the detailed depths of creating that character. You're going to want to check out that summary, and then you're going to want to jump from the summary to the pages within the book to get everything for it. With that being said, you're probably already in a group of some kind. Hopefully within that group, you've got somebody who has played and is familiar with it, and they can help you kind of, here's how you create the character. Because I'll tell you, somebody who's played a boatload of TTRPGs and has been involved with this world for quite a while, this was a very, very complicated character build for me. I felt at all times that I was lost. That I would create something and be like, wait a second, what is this referring to? And then I'd have to go back through the book again to flip to find that one little section and then write that in. So be wary, be strong, you'll get through it, but there's a lot there.
Finally, on to
let's talk about how to play the game, right?
Yeah. So taking damage comes out of your health pool.
Makes sense. HP.
Yep. And then it comes out of your willpower as well.
Yeah, and
it can actually be either or. You can
couldn't
switch.
Confirm this in my looking through because it was a little bit convoluted. But from what I understand, you can choose to let it come out of your willpower if you'd like it to.
Okay.
But to me, I don't know if I would choose to have it come out of my willpower simply because I feel like that stat would be a lot harder to get back than your HP.
Yeah. Damage-wise, we have two different types of damage. We have superficial and aggravated damage. Superficial damage is kind of like a half point of damage, like a bullet wound or a stab wound.
And if you were mortal, this would be considered aggravated damage.
Yes. So aggravated damage is a full point of damage. This is things like, sunlight, the claw from a supernatural entity, fire, or a stake to the heart.
Things that are going to really hurt you.
In the general area of your heart.
Yeah, something that's going to really hurt you.
Because we're vampires.
That's right. Yeah.
Bullets don't hurt us.
Bullets aren't a big deal. We can heal that off.
Unless they're silver.
If you take enough damage and you drop to 0 HP, it puts you into what the book refers to as a torpor state, or is basically like inert state, that would then render you vulnerable to damage and ultimately lead towards final death. And you can heal naturally. You can heal your health back naturally, but that's slow and it takes a while. And it's a difficult process. However, you can gain them back quickly by taking on hunger points. So you can essentially use built up energy, thus leading you to needing to feed again, right? And so I had mentioned at the beginning of what we were talking about, right? But essentially the long and short of it is that you have a point pool on your character sheet called hunger. There's 5 slots at the bottom of the sheet. And you gain numbers for using a discipline, mending damage. Sometimes it could be just for waking up in the night, right? You're a vampire. You need to feed. So
when I wake up, I'm hungry.
It's time to go get some food. And so typically these are considered bad. There's a few exceptions, but basically when you would roll a pool of dice, you are going to replace one die with a hunger die. So there's I mentioned earlier there's special dice. There's a black dice and a red dice set. And what you would do is you would take one of those red dice and place it into the pool that you're about to roll. And when you roll that, if that blood dice happens to roll a 1 and all of these dice work the same way as the other ones do. However, if you happen to roll a 1 and you fail that roll, you'll have earned yourself what they call a bestial failure. And the bestial failure leads to a compulsion. This is a very complicated string. Just stick with me for a minute.
Compulsions are a D10 table that contain additional hunger, lashing out, uncontrollable violence, or behaving in a bad way that is particular to your clan. Now, it's a separate table for each clan.
There's a D10 table for each one. The concept here is you were hungry, you were unable to get food to bring your hunger down, so you've made a mistake of some kind, right? And that mistake can be a multitude of different things. Taking damage, you can, be caught by a human, you can, all of these other things, right? So that's what happens. You roll a 1. Likewise, if you roll a 10 on the hunger die and a second 10 in the dice pool, so remember how we were talking about a crit, 2 10s equals a crit.
Yep.
In this case, it would lead to a messy crit, which essentially means something materially bad, like a stated advantage being degraded by a point, or revealing yourself to humans and violating the law of the Masquerade. So you were hungry that you went way above. You got the job done, but you went way above, and you were careless, and something happened. That's the concept here, right? So this whole system is tucked within the HP system, and tucked within the clan system, and tucked within. So it's just like table on table on table on table on table. A little bit complicated. There's a lot going on here. So as the DM or as the storyteller, you're going to have a hard time keeping track of all of this stuff. So you're going to want to pull out all of your organization utilities that you possibly can.
Yeah. You got to get that pack of sticky notes ready to go. Yeah. We do have a humanity point.
Another system.
Another system, because why not? Normal kindreds start with 7 out of 10 humanity points. They're fairly humane.
It's the gauge. The humanity points system is gauging where you're at, how close you are to your human state, right?
Now, you gain them by being compassionate, and you lose them by, being a typical vampire.
the bad
kind.
ones.
Not what we're
not
playing.
Twilight.
Just the bad.
Not Twilight. No.
Not the Twilight.
I think the bad guy's in Blade. That's the vampire.
Yeah. This is a representation, of course, of how close to a vampire is to being humane. And the book outlines what each of the 10 levels of humanity look like. They start on page 236 for those following.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Leveling up, the storyteller awards each player 1 XP per session. That's it. That's
1
all.
XP.
You get 1 XP. Yep. Just for sitting down and playing the session. Thanks for coming out. And then, of course, they add another point at the end of the story.
Yeah.
So each story arc, you get a point. Each session, you get a point.
So what Finny's basically saying is there is no levels. You don't level up.
No.
You just grow or reduce.
You grow. Yes. So players spend their XP to improve their character's traits or acquire specialties. Page 159. According to the trait cost chart on page 151.
Right. And this scratches the surface. We've been saying this entire time, right? There's so many more rules. But between the lore and the complex rules and the tables and all the other stuff that exists in here, these range from different things about like blood starting on page 214. You've got the various belief system rules, page 172. You got the coterie creation system, like your party, the group of players that you have. That's on page 195. The in-depth list of disciplines on page 243, and the even further in-depth systems from there, like scenes, tests, advanced conflict, blood systems, cities. Like there's a lot going on in this book, and we're unable to go through every single bit of it. So I would recommend that if you are interested in this game, that you do pick up a copy of the book and you go through it. if vampires are your thing, you'll be in heaven here, because this
up your alley.
is the definitive vampire TTRPG.
There's also a list of monsters, the antagonists of the game at the end, as well as items, etc., etc., etc. Lore and lore and lore and lore.
There's
and
a
lore,
lot of lore.
And lore.
There's a lot. Yeah, if this is your storytelling game, this is where you tell it, right? Like the lore will help you build up your characters and give you the ammunition you need in order to walk and talk like a vampire, but that's the bread and butter of this game. It's storytelling.
It will help you get your juices going, because I mean, it is a collaborative storytelling game, which all tabletop games 100%. Are. And that's where we are going to draw the line. That's where we are stopping, because like I said, we could do 4 or 5 episodes on this and still not get through it all.
So Finn, let's start, man. Tell me your honest opinion. Like, where are you at with Vampire the Masquerade? Because I will preface our opinions of the game by saying both you and I were really hyped coming into this one, right? Like I played Vampire the Masquerade briefly on PC back in the day when it dropped, and I haven't visited it since, but I remember it being fun. And I also remember Hunter the Reckoning when it was released on Xbox or GameCube or whatever it was released on, and that was really fun too, from a video game perspective, not necessarily from a TTRPG perspective.
I've heard so much good about these games, and I came into this, I really want to like this game. I really do. But this rulebook can rot in a silk padded coffin buried 6 feet below the ground. It is the most awkward way of designing a rulebook that I have ever read.
Sure.
It was
an artistic direction that they took, which I think works for games like Merkborg, where you're only getting through like 40 pages, but 400's a lot.
When I read through the rules and they were telling me about dice pools before I even knew what kind of dice we were rolling, or what skills we had, or what attributes we had, or what the DC was, I can't.
It's rough. Yeah.
Like they threw a lot of information at you because they have to. Yep. There's a lot of information to get through.
At a 5th edition, you're carrying a lot forward as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there is a lot of cool stuff in here that I like, but you also have to sift through all of the lore and the bits and bobs that are part of this book. And it is a slew of it. This game, I feel, it requires the right table to play with, as like all these games do, because if your table's not into it, you're not going to be into it.
Yeah,
it
I
also
would say
requires.
Sorry, I would say that it's different from what because we usually say it requires a right table, but in this case it requires a right table because somebody needs to know what the frig they're doing.
Yeah. It does require everybody to kind of know
what's going on.
The rules.
There's too many things going on in this game in order for me to help other people because I'm still drowning myself.
Yeah. I will say, I really like the D10 dice pool system and how it visually shows how proficient you are in something.
Totally.
You can look at all those dice in your hand and say, I got this because I'm holding 12 dice to roll.
Yeah, exactly. This is my moment. And then this fail
is
my the
jam.
roll.
And still fail. Yeah, but that's beside the point. Because, whatever. But that's about where I stand. I do like the setting. Mm-hmm. I do like some of the social stuff that can happen in this game. It's a lot of RP heavy stuff. Of course, because it is a storytelling game. What about you?
This one tested me. So, like I said, I was really hyped coming into it because I wasn't familiar with the TTRPG. I was familiar with the video game side of the house. And I got to tell you, out of all the ones that we've done, for the podcast and even before the podcast, I started and stopped this book so many times. I was struggling to get through it. And I had talked to you a few times when, prior to us recording, I was saying, I'm really having a hard time here getting through the pages because it's just lore on lore on lore on lore. Like if we're doing a campaign or something, that lore is crucial. But for what we're doing, the lore matters that it exists, but the details of it aren't super relevant to me right now. And so like, I know the idea was we're going for flavor. We're going for that kind of artistic look, but those first 100 pages were really, really rough. And then
from a rules perspective, it took a long time to get to the rules.
And then when you get to the rules, you've got 3 columns and it's just walls of text. Like wall after wall after wall of text. I don't know. I had a real hard time getting through it. I did get through it, so there's a victory to be had in that regard. But I mean, I like I said before, I really think this is one of those games where you join a group of people already playing. Right? That would be, in my opinion, the easiest way for you to get in, and they're going to teach you as you go. You'll get the core rule book, but they'll say, you know what? Jump in. We'll teach you. You're just going to tell us what you would do in these scenarios, and we'll show you. And you learn it the long way, kind of thing, right? And it's funny because, and I had put in my notes here that it's funny because that process would be very similar to like a human joining a vampire coven. Right? Like, yeah, it would be. It's like you're joining an RPG group. They're all playing vampire. You don't know how to do it. And they bring you in. So it's almost like they induct you into it. Right. So, there's a lot going on, and I get why people would be drawn to it because of that. And it's always fun to play the bad guys or the good guys of the bad guys kind of thing. But, I personally, my biggest concern would be that the group would constantly be devolving into raiding a town, taking out the human population. It's a fun one, but I don't know. It's not really for me. This one's one that I would be more than happy to see played, but I don't really see myself playing it.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you.
Well, with the end of that, I think it's time, Finn, for the post-pod. Post-pod.
The
Post-pod.
The post-pod.
Post-pod. Every time. It's always good. It's always great.
I like it. Today, listener requested, what do you guys think the future of TTRPGs looks like with the new technology coming our way? Specifically VR, AR,
for sure,
kind of stuff.
This was a really interesting question. So I haven't done a whole lot with VR and AR. As an unfortunate wearer of glasses, VR doesn't work very well for me without like massive, add-ons and stuff to make it so that I can actually see in there. But with that being said, I mean, Fantasy Grounds allows us the opportunity to change that camera angle and do that 3D view and stuff like that. And we also have things coming up. There are apps that are out there where you can set a board up, and then you set an iPad, and you have the iPad looking at it. You literally move your minis around that way and stuff, right? Like, I think we're still at a real early age of it, but the concept of being able to play D&D with your friends with either a VR headset on or looking through the lens of an augmented reality type situation, I think that's really cool, right? Like I immediately imagine the chess game from Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Where you go to move your piece and it literally beats the thing down on the board, right? And the thought of eventually getting to that is incredibly exciting. I would love to see something like that. What about you, man?
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, VR is virtual reality. That's the goggle, the Oculus goggles,
a headset,
stuff like that. AR is altered reality, which is like a screen that has maybe even like a hologram pop up and stuff like that. You don't need any wearable tech with that.
Right.
Now, that being said, I would like to see the AR side of stuff come more than the VR, because I, like you, am a glasses wearer and I don't even do the 3D theater crap. Now, that being said, I also think that it would almost take away from the feeling of TTRPGs. That's in true. A sense. Yep. It wouldn't be sitting around the table with your friends, sheets of paper and pencils and erasers, and because that's where we have a lot of fun. When we do our in-person games, that is fun.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of fun. That's way more fun than playing on Fantasy Grounds or Foundry or anything else. It's next
to impossible to replicate that environment, right? Like in-person session, friends around the table. We've said it before, Mountain Dew and Doritos in the corner. You know what I mean? Like
it's a different feeling.
It's completely different. And that is peak gaming at that point, right? To digitize it is a good consolation, but I don't ever see it replacing it.
It's good for covering distance.
It does perfect for what we do.
Our group spans 3 provinces. Like, we are spread out. It's hard for us to get together. Now, that being said, if we would do the altered reality where it's the Star Wars thing where your hologram walks up and beats somebody out,
that would be cool.
In an in-person game.
Bring it on. I'm in.
Amazingly fun.
Take my money.
Yeah, that would be a lot. That would be a lot of fun. Just don't take my dice.
Don't take my dice. No, I do still need to roll real dice, but I'm okay with the tokens. Saying that the token's going to move here, and then the actual attack happens. That'd be cool.
That's right. I think that's it.
That's all. Once again, thank you very much for listening and downloading this episode of Masters of Pen and Paper. We do appreciate each and every one of you. If you are interested in helping us out, there's one easy way you can do that, and that's simply by sharing the link and letting people know that we are here talking about tabletop RPG awesomeness every 2 weeks. We post our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple playlists. We post our podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and you can listen to it from any one of those spots. As well, we stream our Dungeons & Dragons games every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can find that at twitch.tv/DGOnline. And we also have it on YouTube at youtube.com/@DadGamingOnline.
You can also shoot us an email at mastersofpenandpaper@gmail.com. Send us anything. Questions, concerns, comments.
We want to hear from you. Let us know
stories,
that you're there. Pictures of your dice.
For us to check out. Yeah, dice towers. We love dice.
Dice are great.
And dice towers and everything.
Clickety-clackities.
We also have a Discord. There will be a link in the description to that. And just stop by. That's the best way to actually interact with DG and I. We are on there constantly instead of actually doing work.
We are doing work while being on there.
Yeah. Something like that.
The tabletop RPG channel that's in the Discord is for that exact purpose, and we would welcome you to do that. We've got a few people looking for groups in there as well. So I think they're...
I believe there's a
DM floating around in there somewhere. If somebody wants to capture it. We'd love if you join us and come chat with us in between. But without further ado, that's going to be it from us. Episode 19 will be coming at you in another 2 weeks, so make sure to tune into that. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Take care, people.